Är du igång? Nu kör vi. Och då säger vi god morgon och då säger vi välkomna hit till er som är här. Och så säger vi väldigt välkomna till er som är med på distans. Och ni är ett gäng idag så vi ska försöka ha väldigt bra koll på er och se till att ni får en bra morgon. Den här morgonen kommer ju bli då dels på svenska and parts in English. Since we with us today have Brian from Truvio, I would say, as of today. Yeah. Men jag börjar med några korta bara kring vart ni har hamnat. Vi heter Mardi Gras. Vi är en digitalbyrå. Vi brukar definiera oss själva som experter på digital försäljning. Det hävdar vi utifrån att ha ett antal kompetensområden och ett erbjudande som är bredden i det vi påstår att man behöver för att kunna driva sin digitala affär idag. Från strategibitarna för det, de digitala plattformarna för att jobba med affären och kommunikationen som är själva motorn i att driva affären framåt. Vi jobbar tillsammans med ett antal bolag i det sammanhanget som vi har haft äran och fått chansen att hjälpa och driva framåt. Vi ska inte gräva i den frågan för länge utan jag tänker att jag direkt nu egentligen ska släppa över till i steg 1 nu då Brian från Truvio. Så Brian, welcome.
Yeah.
And an applause.
Tack. Tyvärr pratar jag inte svenska, men jag pratar danska. So the decision to go for English instead of Danish, I'd say was a conscious decision. So I hope that's okay with everybody here. So I'm just going to grab the screen here, just a sec. As you might hear, I'm not Danish. I'm actually American. And I've been living in Denmark about 20 years now. And I've been working at Truvio Commerce for about 5. So I'm just going to get the screen here. Hey, it works.
Hey.
Yeah. And welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about product information management and unlocking the full potential of your product information management. It's a topic that I think is quite important. If you're here in the room today, I think we could say that you're also somehow concerned, are we handling our product information in the right way? Any company that sells a product has a process of managing that information. And there's a distinction, I think, that's fundamental between the process of managing your product information and the process of working with a dedicated software tool to do so. So that's going to be part of what we're looking at. So you guys know that product information is important, probably even, because it's something that you require to sell your products. And you may have some ideas of what the business value is. And for certain of you out there, it's probably something that you even have a certain sense of urgency that there's a problem here and that we have opportunity to do product information management in a better way. So what I'd like to do today, basically, is we're going to explore this topic, but we're at different places. So some of you may already know what a product information management system is, and some are maybe looking for or have questions such as, do you have automatic ways to go from kilograms to grams, units, or from inches to grams, and these kind of inches to centimeters, these sorts of things. So yes, we can, but we're not going to blind you with lots of features. I want to take a step back and let's take a look at the process in general. And we want to qualify what we sometimes hear, which is single source of truth. What is it actually we're talking about there? Because it seems like a very kind of just a statement that you throw out, but what's it actually mean? And I won't keep it high level, but I will be doing a little bit of live demonstrations for you today so we could actually get a sense of what it is like to work in Truvio PIM. So this slide I call, yes, product information management is important. but there is other things in life than product information management. So this is actually the Truvio product portfolio, and I think we can see that Truvio PIM is over here. This is a part of Truvio Commerce. We're working with a Truvio filling the ERP value gap, which means that people who are using Dynamics 365, Finance and Operations, Business Central, have made a good investment in their ERP system. And I realize that not everyone here in the room is working with a D365 ERP. So I have something I want to just mention with ours. But the principle, first off, with our company is that we're able to automate certain processes and make a better use of the ERP. And we do this through these add-on programs. Now, when we look at commerce specifically, this is something that is happening in a different system. So it's got a browser, and we're working also with commerce, e-commerce and content management. In fact, I'm going to just segue to the next slide. And what I do want to just impress upon you guys is that it's not just D365 ERPs. So if we talk, for example, Monitor or some other different ERP systems, these are systems that we're also used to integrating with. In fact, if you think about product information management, we're talking about working with data sources that are not just ERP systems, but also could be everything from Excel sheets to industry databases. And we also need to get this information out to different channels. So it is very much a discipline, product information management, about integration. So, and we're also going to see in the course of the demonstration today that although we're focusing on PIM, there's also these other components that can help you get value from your product information management, for your product information rather. So the agenda, I'm going to introduce what is the actual problem with product information management. What exactly are we looking at here? And then we're going to go into how we can optimize our product information and the benefits of good product information. And then I'm going to give it over to Una, who's going to, I think you could say, continue to talk about how some of the benefits of that product information could be present. So what's the deal with product information management? First off, it's important to make a distinction here that when we're talking product information management, that we're talking market-facing product information management. So we're thinking everything from I've developed a series of products I want to sell to the market, and I need to communicate this to the market. So this is not a system that is handling different versions of CAD drawings and these kinds of things for engineers. It is really intended for this journey for how we display our product information for the market. Of course, a super important topic, but this is kind of to draw the lines and differentiate from, for example, a PLM system. And it's important for many reasons, amongst which, if we want to be discovered in saturated markets and we're selling product decks, and there are many different companies that are selling that, it's really important for us to be able to bring this information into the game. So if I'm looking for, and we're working with bicycle with a certain kind of back derailleur, this is important information to bring into the market, otherwise the people who are trying to discover it will never find it. When your customers, your potential customers do find the information, they also need to use the information to buy the product. So I can't maybe buy a product if I don't see an image. I can't buy a product if I don't know that it has the specifications that I need. So this is very important. Another way that product information is important is also ESG regulations in general. There's something called the Digital Product Passport, which may have resonance for at least some of you here in the audience. But ESG, if we just think about that, there's regulatory pressures, and they're only going one way. There's more and more of these regulations where we need to be able to describe our products in more detail. And as I mentioned, we could talk about product information management as a process, and we could talk about it as a software. And if we think about product management without a PIM, it could be chaotic. One of the big things is fragmented data. So if you have an image of different Excel spreadsheets, you have some things in your ERP, you have certain information on perhaps your website, And you need to collect it all because you need to communicate this to a certain channel, which could be Amazon.com, or it could be somebody who wants to, a distributor who wants to sell your products. This is a problem. And this is the classic problem. You can say the core issue with what we're trying to solve with product information management system software. Sharing data, that's also problematic because, I mean, how is it that you're going to share this information with different kinds of channels? And the ERP, which is certainly central, is also part of the agenda today, is like, what is the relationship between them? It can't handle this complexity at scale. So there's certain things that we could do about this, but it can't do it all. So let's take a quick look at how we can optimize product information management. I have this slide that really, I think, represents kind of the start scenario when you're considering doing a product information management project. Because you're starting with different stakeholders that have different needs in different kind of roles in terms of getting the product information together. So someone in finance, someone in product management, someone in marketing. They've got translations, texts, prices, customer-specific prices, technical specifications, all these things, right? Now, on the right-hand side, we're trying to get this all out to a omni-channel market. So our customers might be finding this on Amazon.com, depending, of course, on your business. But it's an easy kind of understandable way to think about that. It could be also industry-specific. Could be, let's say, Zalando or Boost if you're in retail fashion. These are all examples of places where this information has to live. And you may also be selling this on your own website. So that's the challenge. How do we get this morass over there? We know that the ERP is a part of the picture, but it's not the entire part. We can use PIM in order to create this single source of truth. So let's get to this, talk about what is a single source of truth. What do we mean by that? Actually, I'm going to skip this slide for a sec, because I wanted to go to this point. We look about the data that we have in our ERP. We're talking about stuff like reporting categories, where I want to do financial reports on the sale of the products. I need to, of course, have some kind of identification of what the product is. So product number and at least an internal product name, pricing, unit of measure, things that have to do with how we sell, how we ship the product. These kinds of what we could call transactional elements should and will always be somehow in the ERP. That's the proper home for that information. On the right-hand side, you can see all these different things that we feel is proper to have in a PIM system. So presentation categories is to say, your e-commerce menu. Technical specifications. I don't need to know what the wheel size is necessarily to know that I sold 20 of them at 300 euros or whatever it is. But your customers, they need to know these technical specifications. Product variants and relations. Marketing text translations, and also SEO, SEM, or what we could call, sometimes it's called AI optimization, or basically we're talking about large language models and how they explore, which is going to be something that we're going to pick up with Uno. Images, PDFs, videos, all this rich information, this belongs here. So what's the deal? Well, what we want to do is we want to bring this information into the PIM system so we can basically channel this further off to the different channels. That's the basic idea. And sometimes we want to bring this information back in. So it could be a technical specification that's actually useful for doing, and we see this is actually a logo for the Copilot. So in the D365, we have artificial intelligence, which is something that can actually utilize some of this technical information. Now I'm going to do a showcase, keeping a little eye on the time. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how we work with product information management in Truvio PIM. And in fact, let me just first off start and just hone in and show you that what we're seeing here in the left-hand side, this is the entire suite. And the product that we have, again, is also something we could use to make websites and so forth. But if I log out, and I'm just going to sign in as a PIM editor, you can see that we could tailor this experience for somebody who's working specifically with the PIM product. And this could also be, if you think about different roles that you have at your company, it's typical that, and probably a lot of you are here working in marketing, so that you kind of get the job to deal with everyone's information and try to work it all through. It's like, well, actually, if you make a role for your product management team and say, please fill out these technical specifications, you could actually create this so it's a role-based dashboard that they're going to see. They don't have to worry about any of the other stuff, images and so forth, just the things they need to do. So that's an important point. And what we're seeing on screen is, of course, a dashboard. And I just want to orient you here at the top left. We have new, indicated with 1, and then we have something with technical enrichment, we have something with marketing enrichment, and we have something with publishing. So this flow is basically we have to worry about onboarding our products or importing our products from the ERP, but it could also be from different Excel sheets. If we're working as a wholesaler, perhaps we have 10, 20 different Excel sheets that we need to get in with information from our vendors. Working through in a process of enriching the products and then publishing, making these available for the market in various ways, such as the e-commerce web shop, such as Amazon.com or print catalogs. What we otherwise see here is a little bit of information about, okay, we've got 5 that are onboarding, how many are published, have rejected some, so we just have a dashboard. It's a very flexible system, so this is simply a kind of starter example, and we will tailor this for each customer based on what their needs are. And let's take a look at, well, I have an example here with Dynamics 365 Business Central. As I mentioned, we also have a certain degree of specialization with finance and operations or supply chain management, but are no stranger for other systems such as Monitor. Well, in this example, I have an extension here that is allowing me to basically create the rules for how we're going to integrate. So the EAN number, which is called GTIN in Business Central, is going to be mapped to a certain field. And you can see that I've got 5 items that are currently in Business Central and not in the PIM. And if you recall, and we'll just go over real quick, in this new area, we've got 0 right now, and we're going to try to get a hold of those. I can select those and say create the item in the PIM and click on the pending updates. That's going through, contacting our PIM system, and I'll just refresh the page there, and we should see, yep, that we've got these 5 products that are now here. And now let's take a quick look and see what the experience is going to be for the people that are working with this data. First off, we come into a list, of course, of those 5 that are onboarding. This could be 5, this could be 500, and there are different strategies to how we can work with pre-populating information. But in this quite simple example, you can see the Orbea M30 full suspension, we have a so-called completeness of 60%. So what's that mean? What this simply means is that with regards to the first stage of this process, we're 60% of the way there. So it is a context-specific indication. And this is really helpful for me because I don't have to worry about, how do you eat an elephant, right? We don't have to solve the entire problem. We just take little steps. And the people who are working with any given step, it could be different roles, have this nice way of saying, all right, well, we imported it, but I'm missing the EAN. So is this the M30? So we could go back to the source in this case and find that M30. And that's the GTIN, that's the one that we're missing. So I'm going to just type in a number there. So that value is now there in the ERP. And I'm going to just, for the purpose of the demonstration, click the pending updates. And then what we should see here is that Orbea M30 is now 80%, and that EAN has been filled out. When we're working with the item card, that's the details, I also want to point out that we have the ability to tailor the view that you have in these different workflow stages, which is super useful because instead of a whole laundry list of everything that this product contains, and believe me, there's a lot of information, I guess you guys know better than anybody. We're just focusing on this so we can see, all right, there's that value of the EAN. And note that it's gray. That means that we've actually protected this so I can't accidentally write over. And yes, there is a contract here basically saying that they're master values that we have in the ERP. We're reading them in the PIM system. And then we're going to add information for the market, things that we don't necessarily need to bring back to the ERP. So if we take a look at the next step, and I'm just going to, for the sake of time, kind of dive into a couple of examples here rather than taking us through an entire workflow. Hopefully you'll have plenty of time for that when, when you do your own project. But here we have a couple, and we can see we have a completeness now, which is in a different workflow stage because we're worried about technical specifications in this case. So if we go to completeness, we see, all right, we're missing a net weight. So that's what's missing here. And what I could do is then start to work with multiple products at a time. There's a lot of different tools that we have, and again, I promise I'm not going to blind you with all sorts of different features, but of course I'll just try to give you an impression of what it would be like to work with this. So I'm going to find a specific feature I want to show you, which we call Grid Edit, and you can see I've selected them. I'm choosing Edit Selected here. What that does, it allows me to work in a Excel-like environment. And what I do want to point out is what we're seeing at the top is, again, not 300 to 400 fields. We're seeing exactly those fields that we've configured for this stage in our workflow process. And you'll notice the net weight is something I'm missing. And so I could go in there and I could either, go for every cell and type in a value just like one would in Excel. But what I'm going to do is actually set a value at the top. This is the demonstration of where we can type in basically the same value in the whole list of whole column of values. And I could say, well, it was the 13 kilograms that these weigh, and hit OK, and then save and close. You can see that completeness goes to 100%. And if I orient myself back to this workflow that we've seen, we'll notice that those two have automatically come from tech enrichment and have been brought down to marketing. How are we doing on time, actually? Because we got, I think we talked about going to 40, right? So we're doing all right.
I think that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, so good. What we just showed you with this automatic transition from the states is something that is an example of automation. And when we have, perhaps tens of thousands of products, it can be very important that we have these automated flows. But there is also a topic of, well, I want to, as a product manager, make sure that the values that are there make sense. I need to review them. So I just want to mention that it's not always something that happens automatically. There's the ability to make a gate where I need to make an action for this to actually be published. We'll see that as well. Continuing on with the demonstration, looking at the marketing, we can see that we have now the different road bikes up here. And we can see, again, we have a completeness that is now something different. Well, we've brought in the topic of languages at this point because, technical specifications, by and large, don't need to be different in different markets, but naturally, marketing texts do. So we have we're missing some short description, so let's work with that a little bit. If we look again at the item card, we'll notice that now we have a different view, again, determined by this workflow and how we designed it. So now the person who's working with the data can see the data that's oriented about the identity. And scrolling down, we'll see that we have something here, which is a short description and a long description. These are very standard, but you can imagine perhaps having different levels of marketing text. So perhaps you have a search engine marketing need where you have like Google AdWords and you want to be found with certain keywords, and then you need to write a description that is tailored with those keywords. You could create those fields and have them in your PIM system and have a whole palette of different descriptions for different target markets. So this is just kind of a teasing at how some of the complexity of working with text and marketing can be handled here. But let's do this. Let's work and get a short description in, and let's translate this to different languages. And let's do this for, well, let's just take these two bikes and do that. Now, AI, of course, is really up and coming, as we all know. And this is a very, we might say, a basic use of AI. What I'm going to do is use the AI assistant, and I'm going to ask it to generate a text, you see here, and I'm going to have it for the short description. And then I've written a prompt, which is just a nice little area elsewhere where I can say exactly what I want to have. And then I could choose different source fields. I'm just going to take name for the sake of simplicity here. But if, imagine that we have different technical specifications, we want to actually use those in the description. This is really nice because it does save me quite a bit of time. Because think, I could generate these short descriptions for, again, multiple products at a time and work from there. So I'm going to go ahead and just say generate. We'll see that 71% now should jump to, jumped to 76. And we can indeed go in and see that the short description is there in English. And we could, of course, go in and review this. We can see that that's there. So far, so good. Next topic is translation. So how are we going to be able to translate these into the different languages? We work with a couple of different translation services, Google Translate and one called DeepL or DeepL. And the idea here is simply that we take the source field, which is the short description. And then I have the original language where I've just generated this text, and I like to have that in Danish and German. I could translate that, and then we can see that jumps again to now 86% completion. And we can see that the short description is then there, which is a pretty good start. And it took me, a minute. So there's a good time-saving potential there. Jumping back to this last stage, publish, and I kind of already made my point here, just with regards to the editorial control that you need to have for releasing different products. You see that we have basically the entire grouping, so we could have a picture of the entire completion of the whole system. And then we have the topic of publishing to what we call channels. And I realize publish to channels is something I've worked with PIM for like 6 out of the last 10 years, but this can mean different things in different contexts. But what we mean by this is that what we've done so far is work with products that have not been released to the public yet. And now we're at a stage where we're saying, great, it's 100% ready with regards to this channel, which is, let's say, the web shop. So now I need to get these products there. And I could simply do that by either an automated process, as we saw an example of, or I could go in and say, decidedly, I'd like to publish this product to a channel. What we see here now are different hierarchies that represent different channels. So we have a bike web shop, and you can see that this is a jersey, so we have something with clothing and jerseys. So that might be a natural home for this particular product. We also have different areas such as an Amazon channel. And you can see whereas the bike's web shop, we have decided that our storefront is going to divide it between e-bikes and bikes. It's a decision that we have made. Amazon, on the other hand, might want to have something in an organization where cycling is a main category and bikes is the category where these go in. So depending on the different destinations, we can work with these hierarchies. And at the end of the day, we basically expose this as an API endpoint, which just means that the information is available at any given time to be consumed by these different channels. And we can make them in a format so they're readable by the different channels. I can go on for hours, but I don't have hours. And this is really just an inspiration. So I'm going to bring it back down to earth now. But I would also like to talk a little bit about the benefits of product information before we segue to Uno's. And it's actually just going to be a showcase. So I don't have any models or things like that right now. I want to talk a little bit about web shops. I want to talk about self-service portals and on-demand data sheets. So the web shop is something we all naturally have daily experience with. But if you think about it, when I go into a web shop and I'm looking for a particular bike, I have an idea of what it is that I want. And so as you can see here, we have a filtered search over here. And let's say I'm looking for a bike with a wheel size that's 29 inches. That 29 inches is not something that is written in a loose text somewhere. This is a atomized field allowing me to search on this product and differentiate it from the others. And it's super important, and it's a lot about the data discipline, is that yes, you may sort of know that your bike is 29 inches or available in that size, but unless you have that data actually written down in there, then I can't do the simple search. And I think anybody who's ordered a hotel room or an airplane reservation, you rely on this. You have to use these things. It's not really any different for your customers. Through the PIM system of being able to work with workflows to get to that information and verify that everything is as it should be. So I don't have products that, oops, I forgot to add the 29 inches to like these hundreds of products. I have the overview of that. It's simply just enabling something as simple as this. And really, I don't have very much more that I wanted to say on the topic of websites, but just to emphasize that what we may take for granted is actually resting on having good product information available. The other demonstration that I wanted to show you was, it's quite fun because we all know a web shop, but if we're working with distributors and selling our products downstream, we may want to, again, use the channels and what we call feeds to make endpoints that can be consumed. And if you're Zalando, I mean, that's all set up, so that's what you do. But if you're sort of a smaller mom and pop shop and you need to get some information, that could be, you don't really have the resources to just make an API and get the information. This is what this solves. Instead of them calling your customer service and saying, hey, we need this information about these products. No, yeah, maybe it'd be interesting to have that product as well. Let's make a self-service portal for them. This is what I'm showing you. It's called the Digital Asset Portal. When I sign in, I'm just going to go in as a customer. I have a menu here at the top where I could look for certain digital assets, and that's quite interesting. I could look for logos and things I might want to have if I have sort of media kit, that kind of a thing. So that's one topic focused on images. But what I wanted to focus really on here was the product information. So we look over here with product assets. We have a menu here. We can see this is basically the assortment that we have. And I could go in, for example, to mountain bikes. And what we'll notice here is that we have a download cart. And some of these products, you can see I could remove from the download cart and add to the download cart. And if we investigate this download cart, we'll see that I'm now collecting these products that I want to get some information about. There's a couple different options. The one option here is to actually create a on-the-fly data sheet as a PDF. Another option that we have here is to collect some of the product information. So the 29 inches. So if I go into language, you can see I could choose the different languages. I've already got all those established. I could choose different formats, so I can have something which is a CSV file, which is possible to open in Excel. And then I could choose different images. Now, I didn't demonstrate the capabilities that we have around videos and images today. It's simply just a matter of time, but certainly we'd be happy to follow up and show you some of those capabilities. But what I can tell you about different images is that I could have different categories of images. If we imagine sort of white images, transparent images on a white background, that kind of thing, or images in use in the field, or other topics such as certification, documentation, user guides in different languages. These are all the things that we can work with in this product asset. So I say, like, I need the images and the product detail images. And then I'm going to basically put in my email address and send a download link, and I get a a zip file with this information available for me that I could reuse on my website. Down to earth, really useful. The other thing, going back up to publication here, is to generate a sheet. So this is typically, I mean, it's kind of funny because, you know, will PDF ever die? Will print ever die? And I don't think the answer is yes. I think the answer is no. We will always want to print things out. And sometimes we have clients say, well, I need to print it out because then I have to walk upstairs and show it to my boss to get his approval. And this is the way that they do it. So, well, you know, the client is, well, I almost said the client's always right. That's not quite true, but there's a need out there. And what is nice about this is that it's always up to date, these product sheets, because if you do have a need for a product sheet and you've got something, well, this was generated at this date and now we've actually made some changes and so forth, this will give you the ability to create this on the fly. So we choose, again, a language. We choose a currency, whether we should show the price or not. Notice I'm logged in as this person, this customer. So were I to generate, for example, this price list and choose the prices, I'm going to get the prices that are specific for this person. So these are customer-specific prices for this client. And otherwise, we can get sort of list prices as well. So this is an example of how I could work with, you know, price sheets and so forth. Very basic, but very useful. I'm just going to cancel out of that. So that's one example. And then the example would be if I had a data sheet. Now these are individual A4 pages. I could go to print here, and then we could basically see those pages available there for printing directly to a PDF or, you know, out on your machine at work if that's what you want to do. So to wind up, before I give the word over to Uno, I want to talk a little bit more about AI. And the reason I want to do that is that we're actually at the cusp of a lot of things that are going to be changing really quickly. And at Truvio, we have what you might call an initiative called Truvio Sense. Because in all the different products, we see opportunities to use artificial intelligence, LLMs, to increase the productivity for our clients, from, you know, accounts payable to product management of project management of, you know, manufacturing processes to e-commerce. So this is what Truvio Sense describes. And we have what we call an MCP. Now, not to get too much into the details, but an MCP it's been described kind of as like the USB-C of AI, where you kind of plug it in and you're able to use this MCP way of structuring your data, or having, in other words, the agent is talking to our MCP, which then talks to us. Well, I think it's easier just to demonstrate what it could do, because we have here, you know, MCP agents and PIM. So on the left-hand side of the screen, we see an LLM. This is Codex from, is what we have on the left. And then we have Truvio PIM here on the right. And I might ask it to find a given product number. So this is, you know, product 10153. And just type in find product 10153 on Dynamic Web. This is, by the way, released in a beta. So this is the level we're at right now with this. And it goes in and says, all right, here we find this information. So that's interesting. What I think is even more interesting is when we start to talk about agentic e-commerce. Because what we're talking about here is, instead of going to a storefront and looking for that 29 inches, I want to do something that's a little bit more sophisticated. I want to do something like, can I find a present for my 12-year-old kid? And when we're doing that, as it says in the text over here, we're searching on the semantic meaning of the products instead of just the specific, you know, the specifics. So we don't need to say I'm looking for a 29-inch bike. The AI, of course, can figure out that that is too large or too small for the kid. So let's see what happens. It does come up with a product here. So it's telling us what it's doing and thinking. And again, this is not, the part of Truvio PIM that is enabling this is that we make this MCP layer. And that means essentially everything that we could do in dynamic web, we're able to do. Now it gets a little bit technical and stuff, but this is actually the end of what I wanted to show. everything that we could do essentially in Truvio PIM is ability that we can expose to an LLM. Naturally, there's something about restrictions. We don't want them to just run amok and like be changing our stock and making making discounts willy-nilly. But it could be interesting also from the perspective of, well, really fulfilling that promise that we know we have a lot of data with the ways that our products have been purchased. But if we want to maybe do some kind of a forecasting, say, what might be a good strategy for making a discount for the weekend, or reporting and thinking back, what has been some of the parameters when I think about like the best sellers in my e-commerce, and binding those together. So I may be grasping for words here, but I think it's just because the possibilities are quite dizzying. And well, the idea is free to think. But I think it's really cool that our team is taking it seriously. We have this MCP. It is beta release right now today. So we're going to work on actually attaining value for customers with real life problems. So, Uno, I think I'm going to give the word to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And kan vi prata svenska nu?
Ja, nu kanske vi kan prata svenska. Tack så jättemycket. Ska jag bara se om jag kan prompta att den ska byta skärm här. Det är det nya. Sådär. Yes. Tack så jättemycket, Björn. Jag ska prata lite grann om vad som kan hända sen när man använder sin PIM och har sin produktdata på plats, och vad man ska använda den till utåt sett. Det kommer vara några lite exempel på produktdata som plockas upp framförallt av sökmotorer och liknande, men också kopplat till låsta källor, så att där inte liksom en öppen AI kan läsa av den till exempel. I business to business är det ganska vanligt med att man kanske inte har produktdata publikt på samma sätt som man har i business to consumer. Så jag kommer att ha lite exempel på det också. Jätteintressant med MCP:n, förkortningar älskar vi ju alla, eller hur? Så försök komma ihåg den. Det är super på gång och det går väldigt mycket snabbare än vad man tror. Så vi kommer även komma in på det lite grann. Nu tycker jag det här är så mycket mer intressant så jag glömmer prata om mig själv, men för er där borta, så ni som inte vet vem jag är, så heter jag Uno och jobbar som Head of Media på Mardi Gras. Men är också väldigt, väldigt insatt i tekniska aspekter och jag tror when we spoke, Brian, we talked about being a bridge between the very heavy technical stuff and the not so technical stuff. And I think that's a quite good description of my role as well. Jag går fram och tillbaka över utvecklarön och det verkliga fastlandet. Så, vi ska börja med lite grann hur läget är, och jag började skriva den här läget idag, men jag inser att det är inte idag längre, för det är redan igår. Så vi har redan sprungit vidare. För PIM med väldigt, väldigt mycket bra strukturerad data hjälper redan idag om man använder den rätt. Här är ett exempel liksom på hur Google plockar upp strukturerad data som inte är upplockad från liksom vad du ser på webben, utan den är upplockad på den bakomliggande datastrukturen som ligger i produkterna. Vilket gör, om jag söker på sjukt fina skor, så får jag upp de här sökannonserna på sjukt fina skor. Smaksak. Och det är ju inte alls så att när jag kanske klickar på den här Mixed Brands, Flat Buckle, Shoe, Beige, vad det nu är för produktdata som definitivt behöver skrivas om, så betyder inte det att det är så det ser ut när jag kommer till webben. Där kanske det står någonting annat. Någonting annat beskrivande. För att den datan Google plockar upp är den strukturerade, korrekta datan. Och det du ser på webben och visar sen, det väljer ju den som gör webbshoppen. Så det finns mycket, mycket mer data bakom produkterna mot det du kanske nödvändigtvis visar. Och så här ser det redan ut. Här är en bild från Google i lite grann hur det funkar. Där man på sin webbplats mer eller mindre plockar in datan då från sitt PIM eller vinnande eller liknande och berikar liksom sin produkt med mycket mer data än vad som nödvändigtvis behöver synas. För att Google, du vet ju inte vad folk kommer leta efter. Det är ett bra exempel här med cykeln till exempel, att jag vill ha en cykel till en 12-åring eller jag vill ha en cykel med 29 tum eller vad det nu kan vara. Och för att inte behöva skriva ut varenda ord i hel löptext liksom, i din produkt, så är ju strukturerad data väldigt viktigt. Det finns ju hur många olika sådana här, det här är bara exempel på recept då, på Apple Pie by Grandma. Den ser supergod ut. Så det här har funnits, och det här har funnits i säkert, jag vet inte, 10 år nu kanske. Så är man liksom inte igång med det här redan, om man har en webbhandel som syns utåt, så är man lite efter. Men det är oftast är ju många e-handlare har ju det här redan integrerat i sina plattformar och så det är inget problem. Men det gör också väldigt, väldigt stor skillnad när man väl syns i Googles sökresultat. Så får du upp en sån här liten rich snippet som Google kallar det, eller rich result, så ökar liksom möjligheten att någon klickar på den markant. Från någonstans standard på 2-3% till upp till 8% i click-through rate om du dyker upp i sökresultaten. Om du då har en sån här box som på något sätt kan visas då, som är genererad av strukturerad och korrekt data. Så där är vi liksom redan, och det här har ju redan funnits länge. Och en annan sak då som händer väldigt, väldigt mycket, där vi också redan är då, det här med att prata om idag och igår. Det är ju att B2B-köparen bara blir yngre och yngre, och beteendet blir bara yngre och yngre i det här. Och det pushar ju även på hela liksom utvecklingen av hur vi handlar saker och hur vi köper saker. Vi kan gå in lite grann på det. I snitt är det 7,5 personer i beslutsgruppen för en B2B-affär. Så ganska komplext. Det är många som ska tycka till. Det är många som ska godkänna, och det ska gå igenom en lång process. Och som också visar sig nu då, det här är från Sopro från 2025 tror jag. 75% av B2B-köparen föredrar att köpa någonting utan att ens prata med en säljare. Man vill liksom inte prata med en säljare alls längre. Man vill gå in, man vill kunna hitta exakt den produkten du vill ha, gärna till bästa pris, och sen vill man bara kunna köpa den. Det är köpprocessen på nätet idag, jag vet inte hur mycket, vissa kanske gillar det här med att typ ha miljoner alternativ. Jag själv hatar det, jag kan knappt köpa någonting på nätet längre. Det behöver ju bara, ge mig bara något. Det är mycket roligare att köpa väldigt, väldigt specifika grejer som bara en enda tillverkare har, för då är det enkelt. Skor tycker jag är det värsta som finns. Och det som det här leder till, det är ju att 73% av, och det här är B2B-affärer, de liksom är här. De väljer en vinnare innan säljavdelningen har involverats. Sen kanske de måste gå via sälj. Och då är de sura och ledsna. Fan också, jag har ju redan bestämt mig. Kan inte bara få ett pris och en köpknapp. Så det här är liksom ett beteende som förändras ganska mycket. Sen hjälper det inte då att AI kommer in och pushar där ännu mer. Sökresultaten blir bara mer och mer orelevanta egentligen. Det handlar ju om att synas i sökresultaten. Så man använder jättemycket AI för research hela tiden. 86% är redan den siffran uppe i. Också här är B2B-försäljning då. Så man kan ju tänka sig att det vi ser i och för sig, för det börjar nästan bli irrelevant att prata B2B eller B2C, för att beteendet går ihop. Det är väldigt, väldigt lika idag. Det finns inte så stor skillnad som det varit tidigare. Så även här kan man applicera de här siffrorna oavsett egentligen. Här är också ett exempel på detta när vi kommer in i AI overviews som Google kallar det. Dyker upp en sån för dig, så sänks klickgraden med enorma mängder för de som syns här nere. Endast 60% idag klickar på en länk överhuvudtaget. Efter man har sökt om AI overviews syns. För du får ditt svar här direkt på en gång. Du behöver inte klicka på någon länk längre. Så det här med att liksom ha en webbplats, värdet av det, att ha en webbplats för att synas på Google sjunker ju ganska fort. Du behöver ha en webbplats som Google kan läsa av, som Google kan hitta information på, som Google kan göra tillgänglig i sin modell. Det är mycket, mycket viktigare idag och framöver än att bara satsa på att synas i sökresultaten. Och där är det också jätteviktigt då. Jag kommer lite grann till det, att datan du har på din webbplats och syns som kan läsas av är korrekt. För de här AI-modellerna är ju liksom inga riktiga människor. Precis, ja, det var lite det jag sa. Ranking blir relevant och det handlar om liksom inkludering i AI, kunna bli upphämtad och kunna synas i de genererade svaren. Men som sagt, AI är inte magi, det är bara liksom, det är ettor och nollor. Det är liksom det kokar ner till hela tiden. Jag har ett litet exempel här från en YouTube-kanal, Dave's Garage. Han rotade fram sin gamla PDP-11 från 1979 och kör en GPT 5.5 tror jag det är, han kör på den. Den är ju långsam som fan, men det är ett jättebra exempel på att den här maskinen kan köra samma modeller som Googles megadatacenter som kräver 3 kärnkraftverk för att driva. Google gör det snabbare, men ettorna och nollorna är samma. Så om man är intresserad så gå in och kolla Dave's Garage. Den är också superfin, mycket snyggare än de här skittråkiga datacentren som byggs idag. Det här är liksom, har ni sett gamla sci-fi-filmer? Man blir ju bara... Så det har med sig det, att AI gillar ren och fin, bra data. Det är liksom det som gäller. Det finns ytterligare en aspekt i det, att ha strukturerad och korrekt data som syns utåt eller inåt. Det är att AI, återigen, är inte magi. AI hallucinerar jättemycket. Det finns liksom, den hittar på grejer. Den genererar saker som inte stämmer. En jätterisk rent så här politiskt och annat, och man ska göra sin research, kolla källorna. Liksom. Det är extremt viktigt. Och kolla så att källorna i sig inte är AI-genererade. För det bör också bli ett problem. Och för att undvika det så är det också superviktigt att den data du har är strukturerad och korrekt. Skriver du bara i löptext så är det mycket, mycket, mycket större chans att man hittar på. Jag har bara ett exempel här som är ganska lätt att ta upp när det kommer till detta. AI svarar på din fråga vad den är, oavsett vad det stämmer. Är någon som har hört talas om ostslaget i Göteborg 1743? Gemini hade definitivt det och kunde ge mig allt om ostslaget 1973. Så 1743. Så det här är liksom ett praktexempel på detta. Hittar den inte något så hittar den på. Den ljuger för dig. Hade det däremot funnits ett riktigt ostslag i Göteborg 1743 och en webbplats hade haft korrekt, jättebra data för det, då hade ju det här förmodligen blivit rätt istället. Så det ska man också ha med sig, att produktdata idag blir liksom en viktig fråga i form av att visa rätt information och inte bara påhittade grejer. Så det här är liksom det att ta med sig från det, att en dator med ettor och nollor kräver ettor och nollor för att kunna fungera bra. Liksom. Och det är fortfarande tillbaka där. Det är svincoolt ändå, det är ju grymt med AI, det funkar ju otroligt bra i många lägen. Men det är jättebra att ha med sig bara. Strukturerad data och korrekt data är perfekt. Så då ger det AI en facit. Och så kommer det bli korrekt om inte fel. Ännu viktigare när vi pratar om så här, digital product passport så vidare, där liksom regleringar och lagar helt plötsligt kommer komma in i det här. Så har du en AI, frågan om en AI och ljuger om din produkt i de aspekterna så kan det ju bli väldigt fel. Vi pratade lite grann om ett exempel från när Amazon kom till Sverige och Europa. Så fanns det ett jätteproblem med valutor till exempel. Du kunde ju köpa 200 stycken airfryers för 100 kronor styck för att valutan var 100 SEK när den borde varit 100 euro. Så du fick ju väldigt, väldigt mycket fel i det där när du inte hanterade då i det fallet prisdata korrekt. Jag har en kompis svärfar som köpte typ 10 kilo akvariesten bara för att det var billigt. Han hade inget akvarium. Det är liksom men han var jättenöjd. Så mycket att med där. Här är ett litet exempel på det, liksom, hur stor skillnad det också gör. Även detta var från Sporo. De hade däremot inga siffror, så man får väl ta det med en nypa salt då. Men om det röda här är liksom den korrekta datan, och så har du den blåa som bara är fristil text liksom om din produkt. Så det är liksom ungefär en så stor andel som blir korrekt. Har du däremot strukturerad korrekt data, pinpointad på olika celler, eller mappade korrekt, så får du ett otroligt mycket mer korrekt svar också. När du frågar AI kring det. Bara lite grann då hur flödet funkar kring det. Att säkerställa att man har direkt produktdata. PIM hjälper ju enormt mycket med det. Det är ju liksom ett hanteringssystem för att få det där korrekt och berika sin data från ERPs eller liknande. Och sen också få ut använda den datan som strukturerad data utåt sett. Så AI kan ge rätt svar och så får du massa försäljning. Det kommer bara rasa in. Och nu har jag pratat klart om vad som är idag. Liksom. Nu är det här bara idag. Så imorgon, då är vi igång liksom med det här som Brian precis har nämnt. Nästa steg i det här. När sök inte längre blir relevant och så vidare. Det här är ju bara liksom ett exempel på hur krångligt en B2B-affär kan vara. Det är liksom det är komplexa köpresor, det är många inblandade, stora produktkataloger, gigantisk mängd data. Det finns ett behov av teknisk information. Det är skittråkigt och svinjobbigt. Det är ingen som vill jobba med det. Som sagt, jag tycker det är jobbigt att köpa skor. Liksom. Och då skulle jag köpt en superavancerad motor som ska vara till något komplext system i mitt... Tur jag jobbar på marknaden istället. Jag kan säga flummiga saker istället. Jag promptar ju bara sån där. Ge mig en cool kampanj liksom, så får jag massa roliga förslag. Det är mycket enklare. Men det som händer, och händer ganska fort, det är att beteendet går från sökning till delegering istället. Med hjälp av AI och modeller. Varför ska jag söka när jag vet ungefär vad jag vill ha och AI kan lägga till liksom allting som passar just mitt system. Och det här kommer ju här kan man komma från två olika håll. Där PIM kan till exempel vara produktdata för saker du redan har i din process. Eller hur saker funkar i din fabrik eller i din produktion. För att matcha det mot vad är det du behöver. Så nästa steg i det här är ju agentic commerce och maskin-till-maskin-ekonomi. Där det redan finns i rullning egentligen. Där man slutar söka. Ett bra exempel som jag tror så här, för vårt ändamål här det är slut på papper till skrivaren. Jag bryr mig inte så mycket om vad det är för papper. Jag vet inte produktnamnet på min skrivare. Har jag den informationen inne och kopplar det här korrekt. Ja, det hoppar jag före lite grann, men så kan jag ju egentligen bara prompta direkt. Köp papper till min skrivare och så vet den kanske hur många papper som får plats, vilka papper jag ska ha för den vet vilken skrivare. Och så kanske den frågar tillbaka, är det A3 eller A4 du vill ha? Skitsamma, köp båda, säger jag, och så köper den båda. Jag behöver inte få någonting och så det enda som händer är att Henrik får en fet faktura på 2000 papper och så får han godkänna den och så är det klart. Och det här är redan igång. Det här är Agentic Commerce Alliance som är en av de största organisationerna kring det. Som har samlat massa bolag, då, PayPal framförallt är väl en av de största. Och det här är liksom hur de beskriver sin målsättning på något sätt. Ja, jag behöver kanske inte läsa upp hela den, ni ser va? Ja, och så lång och krånglig.
Du har bara en minut på det.
Ja, men jag lovar att gå över tiden så det är ingen fara. Och det här är också intressant då. Man kan ju tänka sig liksom, kommer någon vilja använda det? Vill man inte titta på produkterna innan man köper dem? Men enligt Agentic Commerce Cheat Sheet for E-commerce Leaders av Shopware så är 24% av alla köparna redan öppna för att bara kunna köpa med AI direkt och hjälpa dem med hela transaktionen. Och ett bra tecken på det är väl liksom hur enkelt det är och hur ofta man använder Klarnas liksom buy now, pay later. Liksom. Vem orkar skriva in ett kreditkortnummer nu för tiden? Man lägger ju nästan ner hela köpet om man ska behöva göra det manuellt. Så det går jättefort. Och till hjälp på det här då, så har vi liksom de här MCP-erna som Brian pratade lite grann om då. Det här är liksom det man behöver bygga då, helt enkelt. Så att jag direkt från databasen i det här fallet som är produktdatan eller PIMet eller när man får upp allt det. Och sen så kan jag från vart jag än är bara prompta in då. Köp detta eller fixa detta. Så kommer det liksom. Antingen på posten dagen efter eller om det är system så läggs det till licenser eller whatever det kan vara. Och det här behöver inte nödvändigtvis vara öppna system tillgängliga för alla. Utan det här kan ju vara system låsta specifikt för dina kunder. För att köpa reservdelar eller skruvar eller vad det nu kan vara. Och det här är liksom, det går väldigt fort. Agentic Commerce Alliance har släppt den här. Nu, hur man överlever till 2030 liksom. Och det är inte ens 4 år bort. Så har man ju det. Ska man bygga något nytt idag så bör man definitivt ha med sig detta i åtanke. Och det grundar sig hela tiden, hela vägen bort till att produktdatan är korrekt, finns strukturerad och går att läsa. För annars kommer det här bli fel. AI gör ju också fel. Liksom. Inte lika mycket fel som människor gör, men den gör också fel. Sen är vi mycket hårdare när en AI är fel. Då är det liksom, skitsystem. Men när man själv gör fel så är det liksom, men det är misstag, mänskliga faktorn. Så man kommer undan bättre. Och det var det kring produktdata och användningsområdet av den och hur viktig den kommer vara framöver kontra att egentligen ens behöva skriva fina texter om sin produkt. Har vi några frågor på det? Jag gick bara över 1 minut så det är lugnt.
Om ni har några frågor på länken? Nej.
Då tackar jag så jättemycket för mig och kul att ni har varit här och ni också på länken. Har du några avslutande ord?
Nej.
Nej, då så. Då syns vi nästa gång.